Your Excellency, Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Madam Chair of the Committee of Ambassadors, Dean of the Committee of Ambassadors, members of the Cabinet of the Government of the Sierra Leone, Excellencies, representatives of missions, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. The Committee of Ambassadors is very honored by the visit of His Excellency Brigadier Dr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, a statesman with a long and rich political career, affectionately known in his country as the father of democracy. This is for his outstanding contribution towards promoting democracy, the rule of law, and peace in Sierra Leone over several decades. His Excellency President Bio assumed his country's highest office for the second time on 12th May 2018, 7 months ago, as the 5th President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, after he originally became Sierra Leone's head of state from January to March 1996. It was during that period that he presided over Sierra Leone's first democratic elections in 30 years. He previously served as Chief Secretary of State, Chief of Defense Staff, Minister of Information, and Minister of Marine Resources successfully. Today, the Committee of Ambassadors is welcoming not only the head of state of a country that attaches great importance to the ACP group, but also a statesman who for many years has devoted himself to the economic and social development of all his country. Since taking office, he has continued to work to improve the living conditions for the people of the country. He has undertaken significant reforms in keeping with his campaign promises to move Sierra Leone forward into and beyond the 21st century. At the national level, the government has set its priorities, which include job creation, access to quality education, the empowerment of women, young people and the disabled, and the fight against corruption, the enhancement of civic responsibility, and national cohesion. In the area of education, our distinguished guest has launched an ambitious free education program for public school students managed by the government and has eliminated admission fees for all university students. The aim is to enable more than 15,000 students to pursue studies in the various universities, polytechnics, and other higher education and technical institutions in the country. His recent election as President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, following an electoral campaign that was hailed by the international community as being democratic and transparent, is not only a great testimony to the Sierra Leonean people's support for his political vision, but also his constant commitment to the creation of a peaceful, just, and inclusive Sierra Leone with resilient institutions. Madam Chair, distinguished President, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to end by reiterating to His Excellency Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, my sincere wishes and the wishes of the entire ACP Secretariat for success in his noble and ambitious mission to secure prosperity for the nation of Sierra Leone. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome Your Excellency to ACP House. Continue on to many glorious victories. The ACP supports you. Welcome and thank you.
Your Excellencies, the Chairman Committee of Ambassadors, Secretary General, members of the Committee of Ambassadors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my delegation and I are greatly honored by your warm welcome accorded to us here at the African Caribbean Pacific House. Certainly, my working visit to the headquarters of the European Union here in Brussels would not have been complete without a visit to this secretariat, which is considered our home. I am grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to give us opportunity to interact this afternoon. On this visit, I'm accompanied by a cross-section of ministers and senior officials of my administration. May I introduce the Foreign Minister, Dr. Ali Kaba. He is responsible for managing the foreign relations and servicing international cooperation. Also, we have here Honorable Samuel Tamba Musa. I think he did not come in because he's not presented his credentials as yet. He is the ambassador designate to the Kingdom of Belgium. He will represent Sierra Leone in the ACP group, and he will facilitate our participation in the ACP group. My administration is very proud of the great work this group continues to do in pursuing our shared interest. I assure you of my country's fullest support for the work that you have all been doing. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my country, Sierra Leone, has a long history of active representation in the ACP partnership framework. We are in common circumstances. We share cultural and economic affinities, and we have common aspirations. Sierra Leone and European Union relationship have been forged and refashioned through our 3 decades by the principles and objectives of successive ACP-EU conventions and partnership agreements. Within those frameworks of cooperation, Sierra Leone has received substantial financial resources in the form of grants under the various European development funds. Those grants have greatly supported our development as a nation. Under the current EDF, the 11th, the European Union allocated 376 million euros. I would like to thank you all again for standing by us and advocating for a special disbursement of funds during the devastating Ebola virus disease outbreak from 2014 to 2015. We are also grateful for the support from the EU for the democratic parliamentary and presidential elections that ushered in my opposition party into power. We have closely considered the EU report on the elections, and my government will attentively implement each of the recommendations. The EU's recommendations are good for our democracy. We have a shared interest in sustaining stable and democratic governance in Sierra Leone and across the ACP. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is more somber narrative to this. We took a country with double-digit inflation, high public expenditure, low domestic revenue mobilization, little public financial management, unsustainable domestic debt burden, near unserviceable external debt, and an IMF program that was suspended. Complicating this was a predatory and murky business environment marked by high-level corruption and unclear government priorities. The current 11th EDF with the EU is being executed in this environment, and the funding priorities of the last government still determine which programs will be funded through 2020. In the right environment and context, the numerous EU funded programs and projects in the areas of road, infrastructure, agriculture, health, communications and public administration, and many other sectors could have a bigger and more transformational footprint on our economy. They have had the expected impact. They have not had the expected impact, regrettably. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what next? I have a reputation for asking questions and allow me to indulge in this for a few minutes. 6 of the world's greatest growing economies are in the ACP group. The countries in the ACP and the EU alone represent more than half of all UN member countries and unite over 1.5 billion people. Given the irreversible trend of globalization and the changing geopolitical landscape of international trade and cooperation, how do we sustain economic, political, cultural dialogue between and amongst us in the ACP and the EU? Basically, what next? As we start looking beyond the end of Cotonou Agreement in 2020, how do we begin to think about the role of the ACP with respect to a new European Partnership Agreement? How do we unpack the multiple questions that beg for answers and deep critical thinking about the future relationship or even the possibility of future relationships? Is it through the collective and inclusive engagement of all stakeholders? Are there possible threats and risks to various approaches? How do we navigate or respond to those threats and risks? Post-Cotonou, what kind of partnership agreement will be mutually beneficial to the European Union and to either the ACP collective or, say, Sierra Leone as a member within the ACP framework? Could we diversify partnership and funding sources beyond ACP-EU partnership? How do we enhance the financial stability of our ACP group? How do we reinforce or even restructure and enhance intra-ACP relations, especially through South-South cooperation? How do we strengthen the ACP Secretariat and enhance its visibility? Let us reflect on those questions. I commend the work done by the Council of Ministers and Committee of Ambassadors towards the implementation of the Sipopo and Wengani declarations of the 7th and 8th ACP summits, including developing the negotiation structure for the ACP group and its 3 strategic pillars. The Secretary General, Dr. Patrick Gomez, has also shared his vision with us. But allow me, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to suggest that we must anticipate the change in the relationship within the EU by cleaning our homesteads and strengthening our hands. My government has embarked on a new direction of inclusive democratic governance, mobilizing domestic revenue, transparently managing public finance and procurement, making the regulatory and legal environment for business predictable and favorable, developing rural infrastructure and investing in human capital development through free quality education, quality health care, and diversifying the economy. We continue to make it easier for credible private investors to take a second look at very promising investment opportunities in our fisheries, tourism, agriculture sector, among others. We continue to simplify and fast-track the ease of establishing a business with the creation of an investment board led by my Vice President. Tax regimes and custom processes have been automated and streamlined. We are scaling up investment in roads, electricity, ICT, and water supply. Our country is brimming with business opportunities. Sierra Leone is open for business. We will continue to make our country attractive to EU capital investment and partnerships. We want our partnerships to be mutually beneficial and thrive as a result of trade and cooperation that benefits all parties. Allow me to suggest that before negotiating future relationships, we in the ACP group should first prime our economies and economic systems and provide the right governance framework for sustainable development. While I do not envy your great work here at the ACP, count on me for my and my country's unconditional support. And I thank you all for listening. Thank you.